All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha, Rakah Quadash. The honors to our apostle elders was rule great millstone wow. And Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abab abal. It says here in New York Post, it says polar vortex set to send Arctic blast deep into U.S. later this week, resulting in lowest temps this winter so far. And in fact, it's going to be breaking records, because right here it tells you, all right, how cold will it get? Weekend temperatures could drop into the range of 30 to 50 degrees below average for this time of year for some locations. Wind chills could approach negative 50 degrees in several places. All right, and why is this significant? This is significant because this is a plague that actually, it happened to Egypt also. All right, with the darkness. Okay, the darkness that came upon Egypt was so bad that they weren't allowed to even make a fire. All right, they had to suffer in that darkness. Right here it says Exodus 10 verse 21, and Yahweh said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. Which this is going to cause power outages also, okay? And the power outages are going to stop people from being able to even warm their homes, all right? Which some people will die, people that have, sick or old, and even children, all right? They're going to die from this cold right now that's coming upon America. It's saying right here, Arctic blasts tied to polar vortex to test Texas grid again. All right, which people died last time. All right, so we're gonna have to see who dies or how many die in this time that's coming. All right, and it's pretty much here. Okay, this weekend is gonna be so cold. I talked to the head of our camp, and we're gonna, just do it live instead of being out, because it's damn near gonna be 0 degree. All right, maybe even colder. Eventually, they're saying even possibly 45 negative. All right, so it says. Let me see. Let's see if they got any news. The Daily Mail, Arctic blast bringing temperatures of negative 50 degrees. Right? Look, negative 78 degrees below. Negative 78 degrees below. Come on. You see? And in that purple is where it's at, and they said eventually it's going to cover the whole United States. All right, well, let me show you what happens when the temperatures drop so low. See, it says right here, can it be too cold to start a fire? It says, very rarely does the temperature get cold enough that the fuel won't catch. However, once the temperature dips to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or C for Celsius, some common fuels freeze and get much harder to ignite. This is because combustion is a chemical reaction between gas molecules, right? So they won't even be able to light a match because it'll be so cold that it won't even spark, all right? Which happened in Egypt. It's right here. Kala Yaba Shimei Ashai that the Lord led me to this actually. because I was thinking a different scripture, but I just happened to have this one on my head, by the Spirit. And then I looked, and the scripture that I needed was in it. So, Wisdom of Solomon 17, verse 1, which this is dealing with the plagues that came upon Egypt. It says, "For great are thy judgments and cannot be expressed. Therefore, unnurtured souls have erred," right? Because they don't know the judgments. And who are unnurtured today are dealing with the Israelite, them 2/3, all right? They really don't know what's coming their way, these reprobates, because they're cleaving to the heathen, and the heathen, they're not going to be showing any mercy. So those 2/3 reprobates, they're in that basket with those wicked ass heathen. They're going to be in that lake of fire, which is going to be torment. America's going to be destroyed with nuclear missiles and turned into a lake of fire, and you're going to be here to burn. It says, "For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation," right, talking about those Hamites, all right, but the unrighteous men today are the nation of Edom and the rest of the heathen, "they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness, and fettered with the bonds of a long night, lay there exiled from the eternal providence, for while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions," which that's happening already. We look at the so-called ghosts at the Miami Mall, or what they're calling aliens, right? Because they said there were so-called UFOs, and then there was spirits, right? Which those are angels that are sent from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. It says, "Not for neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear." So they were hugging a corner of a wall in their house. "But noises as of waters falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances." Right? So the Lord was vexing their mind with horrible thoughts as their flesh trembled and fearful. It says, "No power of the fire," this was the one I was thinking of, "no power of the fire might give them light." See, why? Because it was cold. All right? With darkness comes coldness. "Neither could the bright flames of the stars endure to lighten that horrible night." Why? Because it was a plague upon this place, Egypt. All right? Ancient Egypt is what it's talking about. But just like the Lord said in 2nd Esdras, he's going to plague Egypt again. What Egypt is he talking about? He's talking about the spiritual Egypt, America. All right? 2nd Esdras 15:10. It says, "Behold, my people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery, is led as a flock to the slaughter," which these elite, the so-called white race, they have plans of pretty much committing genocide, all right, to an unthinkable level against the Israelites. It says, "I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." All right, so he's talking about spiritual Egypt, talking about America, which they're self-proclaimed Egypt. They have the pyramid on their dollar, saying that their United States Great Seal is equal, right, one to that pyramid, meaning this is the new spiritual Egypt. Every great, what is it called? Every capital in America pretty much has Egyptian symbols, right? Because this is spiritual Egypt. All right? And you got to remember, the Greeks are the ones that put that name Egypt on that land. Originally, the South Sudanians were the ones that were in that land, and their name was Mizraim. All right? But Egypt, meaning bondage, was put on that name by the Ptolemy dynasty. All right? So that's a Greek Edomite term. Okay? So the Edomites are the so-called Caucasians, the wicked in America is their heaven today. All right, the spiritual Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, which the Lord's going to send his son Yahushua to deliver us. And Yahushua is going to send his angels to gather us and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So it's not talking about ancient Egypt. It's talking about this spiritual Egypt, America. And will destroy all the land thereof, which Egypt still exists. You can still go look at the pyramids. They're still there, decaying today. What it's talking about is the nuclear destruction of America, which is also known as Babylon. All right? So the spiritual Egypt, spiritual Babylon the Great, our virgin daughter of Babylon. It's also known as Nineveh, Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? So this place, it takes on these different names because it's conducting itself in the wicked customs of all these different heathen nations under the so-called white race, which the Lord's going to punish the so-called white race, and he's going to destroy their heaven with nuclear destruction. He's going to enslave them, all the heathen, under the Israelites for 1,000 years, and then after that 1,000 years, the Edomites are going to be made extinct, and they're not going to exist no more. All right, which the whole world will be in peace after these devils go down. All right, once they go down, all right, we will have peace on earth. The wicked are in power right now, and that's why everybody's mourning, because it's a wicked ass world. All right, but the Lord's gonna do away with the wicked and set up the righteous, and the people shall rejoice. But they have 1,000 years of slavery. All right, every nation that has existed have 1,000 years of slavery under the Israelites. All right, because you're all confederate with the so-called white race against us, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. That's why all the nations, right, they're all confederate under the UN nations, which is confederate under the European Union, all right, which is an Edomite, a so-called Caucasian system, a beast system, which they're eventually going to make it mandatory for an implantable microchip, all right, just like Pharaoh in ancient Egypt, he oppressed the Israelites when the prophets came out, Moses and Aaron, and said what the Lord told him to say, let my people go. He didn't want to let them go. In fact, he put more burden on them. And that's what they're doing with their inflation, with their taxation, right? And eventually with their draconian law, they're going to make it mandatory that implantable microchip be made mandatory. Which they already said, you're going to have nothing and love it, right? Which really they're going to be destroyed. All right, they think they're going to get away with it, but really, they're going to be destroyed. Woe to him that makes war with his maker. But it says in 2020, let's see here, verse 22, it says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, which he was created to destroy, the so-called white man, he shall be in straits, which he won't always accomplish what he's been planning, because he'll have difficult time, because it's the end. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, right? Which tells you in Revelation 17, all these European Union, they're going to turn against the whore. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh, through his son Yahushua, shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, that nuclear destruction, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. All right, just like what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. What happened? The Lord destroyed it by fire from heaven. This time it's going to be nuclear missiles. All right, shot on this place by its enemies and its allies. All right, it says, he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall, terrors are upon him. Which what's coming out is those nuclear missiles out of the silos. All right. It says, all darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle, because you're going to be put in slavery, right? The Edomites that survive, because they go into the those bunkers, the nuclear bunkers to protect themselves, they're going to be the ones that go into slavery. All right, they're going to be preserved to go into slavery. Revelation 13, 9 and 10. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So this is why these elite are building bunkers, right? Even the lower level, right? The meat puppets like Biden, like Elon Musk, like Bezos, like all these frontmen, they got these bunkers in their mansions, right? Well, how much more the super elite? Well, they're being preserved for that judgment, because they're the ones that are going to be first into slavery, because the rest of them are going to die here in America. All right? And you got these Edomites building bunkers on islands and different parts of the world, because they're planning on trying to escape this judgment. But even if they survive the nuclear destruction of America and they're hidden in a bunker in a different part of the world, all right, they're still going to be put in slavery, because the elect are going to hunt them. All right. So it says in Revelation 16, all right, that the Lord, with his judgment, it tells you that they begged the it's Revelation 6:16, and it says, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. So they're saying, hide us from Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Alright? It says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? See, but the Lord's going to preserve them, alright, so that they could go into slavery immediately, and their whole entire race is going to be birthed back through reincarnation, which we're going to breed them like dogs or horses, like race or work horses would be a better way to think about it. A workhorse, you breed them, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to breed the heathen as we want them, as we need them, and, for our service, for them to minister to us. That's the whole purpose of the heathen, right? And we're going to pretty much rule over them with a rod of iron, and we're going to install into them what is right and wrong. But the wicked shall never understand, and that's why his whole entire race would be destroyed and perish at the end of the day. Shalom to the elect. Wa Abba B'Bom.